Hello and welcome to Surveyor Says, the podcast from the National Society of Professional Surveyors. Each week, we bring you fascinating guests that are involved in the profession of surveying. My name is Tim Birch, and I'm the Executive Director for the National Society of Professional Surveyors and your host for the podcast. Subscribe to the podcast on most of your favorite streaming platforms, as well as our podcast host, Podbean. For more information about the podcast and NSPS, please visit our website, nsps.us.com. So, without further delay, here's our next episode of Surveyor Says, the NSPS podcast. Hello and welcome to another episode of Surveyor Says. I'm your host, Tim Birch. We are kind of, no, we're not in the studio. We're not on the road. I'm actually working remotely, which is perfect. A perfect environment to introduce our guest, which the guest is actually now an employee. Yes, NSPS is growing. We're expanding, and in a good way. I think we need to. So my guest today is our brand new employee, Cara Tryling. Cara, welcome to the podcast. And as we were just talking before the recording, yes, you're in the middle of your second week, and it's figuring out everything that's brand new to NSPS. We're throwing you in the deep end with Trish, with the staff, with Elaine, with everything. Before we get into a little introduction, I guess, hopefully it's not scaring you off.
Not yet. I'm excited still.
All right. Well, tell us a little bit about you. Now, like I said, this is a new thing for NSPS as well, because Cara will be our first remote employee, which, let's be honest, if COVID didn't teach us anything, is that we can work remotely, and we can expand our possibilities to find good, capable, and willing people to come to work for a variety of different jobs, and NSPS is no different. So, by happenstance, Cara and I were, we crossed paths, and her goals were aligned with what I think our NSPS goals were. So remote, here you are. So Cara, tell us a little bit about you, where you're at, and why the heck do you want to work for a guy like me and a organization like NSPS?
I am licensed in Ohio and Kentucky. Kentucky was my first license, and I got Ohio last year in the fall, I believe it was. I have been around surveying my entire life. Never wanted to be a surveyor until I took that first class in college when I was going to do construction management, and clearly there were other plans in my life to now become a surveyor. I have graduated from Cincinnati State with their bachelor's degree. I am proud to say I'm the first woman to do that.
Nice.
I'm technically in the second class to graduate, because they had so many of the guys graduate in December, because everybody was just like waiting for that last class.
Right.
And so they all graduated December of 2020 as soon as it got approved. And I was in that second group that had to wait till spring to get that last set of classes. But graduated there, and I'm currently getting my master's degree at the University of Maine in surveying, actually. What else is there? I'm a mom of two boys, so life is constantly chaotic.
Oh, sure. Well, and that's just it. I want to kind of set the stage for people to realize that, that's part of the reason we are trying to modernize the way NSPS is trying to think and go about, especially, like I said, besides being remote, trying to offer the flexibility. When we come across a great employee, be able to offer up that flexibility. There's no reason why you can't do what you want to do career-wise, in what we're going to be talking about. But then also, take care of your first priority, which is your family and your boys. So, congratulations to putting that all together. There's a reason men don't do it, to be honest with you. I don't think we're built for it, but there might be people out there that disagree. But anyway, so first thing we got to talk about, and because you and I are both generational surveyors,
Yep.
let's talk about what was the pathway for you to get into surveying based upon your lineage, your heritage. So, you want to share a little bit of that? Hopefully, hopefully your parent won't mind a little shout out because
Oh, not at all.
we're gonna have
She,
to give her one.
they honestly, both of my parents, they will tell the story even and like say it the same way I do of I was never going to be a surveyor. Not a day in my life. I didn't want to be one because both my parents are surveyors. My mom, Carol Mormon, is a licensed civil engineer and licensed surveyor and the program chair at Cincinnati State. So I grew up around it. My dad, Michael, is basically a surveyor by proxy. Mom wanted to start a business to have just like the day to day of still doing the work, still knowing what's going on as she's teaching. So my dad got ringed into it, and here we are, what, 20, almost 28 years later. They're still running strong, doing the business, and my dad seems to enjoy it still. Uh, so grew up around the surveying my entire life. Just kind of was like, okay, whatever, it is a thing that makes money. Okay, cool. That's what mom and dad do. They'd take us out in the field when we were little, and my sister and I would play in the dirt as they would lay out the houses or do a boundary in the subdivision. You know, what little kids do. That's what we're useful for. Uh, High school, every once in a while, my dad would need help. So I'd go out with him on like a weekend or something and just like hold the hubs or like walk behind him and be like, all right, here's what I see, here's what I'm doing. I don't know what's going on, but okay. Um, so I started college at Cincinnati State in audio video production. I wanted to work on like sound design and stuff for live theater. And did a year of that, was like, nope, not really feeling it. So I switched to construction management. And that fateful surveying class, my first semester in construction management. I went in and everybody kind of assumed I knew stuff already because of who my parents are. And they all kind of quickly figured out, same last name, uh, who my mom was. They're like, oh, you must know everything. I'm like, guys, I'm just as clueless. I have no idea what's going on. So no, don't try to like hope that you're my partner because we're all starting from ground zero. uh, but I realized I really liked it. And so I went to my parents like, guys, genetics won. It's I'm gonna be a surveyor, I think. I got my first co-op summer of 2019 and didn't look back. I
Nice.
I've had some great mentors over the years. So I co-opted, kept working, kept going to school. I would work while I was in school, both for my co-op company and then if my dad, when I wasn't working, needed a hand. I was like, more experience, cool. I'll come help. And like during COVID, I didn't have a ton of work for my co-op. And so my dad was a little bit busier. So I was going out with him. I was helping him lay out houses. My favorite was somebody had bought a property in our subdivision that had a house on it. They wanted to tear said house down to build a new one. But before they tore it down, they wanted us to lay out the new house. It was the weirdest thing. I was like,
Oh, yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
So like there were points in the middle of this deck, and I'm like, I don't know what y'all are thinking, but okay, cool. More power to you. Um, so I have switched around to, let's see, one, two, four different companies over my very short career. Um, but I've had a lot of learning experiences doing different types of work, working with different people, and had some really, really good mentors that I still look up to this day and will reach out to and be like, hey, need some advice here, please.
Oh, exactly. Good. Good. I do want to take a step back because you and I have been talking over the besides the the leading up and then now extensively for the past week and a half. Besides the obvious, I'm gonna say advantages of being a generational surveyor, and we get some of that, we get some of that experience and some of that education. I say by osmosis, coming from the parent.
Yeah,
Whether you remember it or not, growing up as a kid and doing these, things are going to click. But things are different now than it was way back in the 20th century when I was coming up. And that's weird to say. Back in the 1900s, uh, the real path now to become a professional surveyor and to become a good one is through a formal education. And so, obviously, your mom, being the program lead at Cincinnati State, uh, very, obviously a very big proponent of formal education, and you took that
yes.
path. Now, having been down that path, gotten your bachelor's degree, and even working towards your master's now, in your opinion, I mean, in your take, I mean, I'm about formal education, but put it into words what you see as it's necessary to really have that well-rounded uh, experience, education, uh, you know, really that everything that goes together to become a good surveyor on their way to become a licensed professional.
I think school is definitely important to become licensed because, like, there are the legal aspects that you're not going to necessarily learn from the guys in the field. The guys in the field, I cannot tell you the number of them that are amazing surveyors. They have no aspirations to being licensed, which is totally fine. We need guys who are good at what they do and want to do it. And I learned so much from them in the field of, hey, here's how we go about looking for this stuff. Here's how we look at this. Here's how we find this. Here's how I do this topo or whatever it was. Having that is just as important as the formal education because, like, in school, I was learning here's the calculations, here's the basic way of doing a layout, a level loop, whatever. And it's theory at first, but once you go into the field and you're working with these guys in the co-op, it becomes, oh, this makes sense. All right, so they taught us to do it this way at school, but hey, he's been doing it for 20 plus years. He says this is even better. And so you try it and you're like, oh, he's right. It's getting the same results. And you put the two together. And then in school, you're going back and you're learning the civil 3D. You're learning the state laws. You're learning the ways to research and do things. It just helps build even further because, unfortunately, with how busy we all are in the world of surveying, they're not going to have the time to sit and explain here is how you use civil 3D. Here is how you use a total station. Here's how you do this research. They can start you off, they can start to help you and give you advice throughout, but they're not going to be able to sit there with you for a week straight and be like, all right, now press this button, now do this, now do that. And so school has that. And having that school requirement to get licensed, it helps because you're learning the legal aspects of things. You're learning the theory behind it as well as the practical aspects of it.
Oh, exactly. And I guess, can you also speak to, and I'll say that I'll say the college experience, but it's not just the surveying classes. It's a lot of the other core curriculum that you take along the way that I guess in my mind, my opinion, that also makes for a better, I guess, a more rounded person to go out into the world anyway. I mean, there's a reason there's core classes for all of these, no matter what the 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 subject of the degree is, there's still a reason you take some of these core classes so you're aware of some of these other things in the world, I guess. Um,
Yeah,
eh, so the college experience with the core classes, I mean, helps make you a more well-rounded person as well.
100% because I will be 100% honest. I can't spell worth a darn. I can't, there are times where I try to write something and it just turns out awful. And I'm like, I don't know what I did wrong, but it's gotten better since taking those college English classes and like my math. I got several concussions in high school and my math just plummeted. And so retaking some of those classes and taking calculus in college, thankfully my sister was in my calculus class because I would have struggled even harder um, if she had not been able to help teach me a little bit extra. But it helped reinforce some of the stuff that my brain kind of said, we don't need anymore when I got those concussions. It reinforced that stuff. And when I went into the surveying classes and they're asking about like, how does photogrammetry work with this and that? And here's the equation for it. And I'm like, oh, I learned that in physics and calculus. Here's how to put those together. And okay, that makes more sense now. And so it kind of helped give even more, here's where it came from. Here's how we get
Right.
this information.
Oh, exactly. And that's part of what, looking back on my career, and people will, especially my contemporaries will say, well, see, you didn't go to college and you became a licensed surveyor and yes, but that was a different time, different place. We didn't have the technology in place, even up, you know, n nearly as much as we do now up until the time I got my license. And it is understanding those basics, understanding those, like you just said, the concepts of
Yeah.
what we need to do, then going out and applying them in the real world. And that, that's part of what I wanted to talk about next is that next step is that, oh, great. You've got your nice little sheepskin diploma and you put it on the wall and, I is a surveyor and, but I won't even say you're halfway done. You're just getting started. And it's now like you just said, the applied version of what you've learned. Tell us a little bit about, like you said, that eye more of an eye opening and having to experience that, go through what you were taught in theory now goes to applied.
Yeah. So with school, part of Cincinnati State's program is required co-ops to help us get, because in most states you can get 2 years before you graduate and get the other 2 years after graduation or however many years you need. Uh, and so I was very lucky that I got a year and a half, I think, before I graduated of co-op experience where as I'm learning, I'm applying it. But then when I graduated and got my first official big girl job of being a surveyor without having to worry about school, I was still learning. I was still having to ask questions and look at how other people were doing things. And I'll say guys because the majority of the people I've worked with are men. Just how the uh what's it called? My mind just totally blanked.
Well, it's just that's I mean that's
the
just
profession.
yes, that is the profession.
Yeah,
That's the demographic.
yeah. And
End of
so,
story.
yeah, the being able to apply it then and then put in that time and effort of continuing to learn, realizing where I may be struggling beyond what I had learned from school, where I needed to learn even further in, oh, it's not just waving a wand around to find a corner. It's taking into account, hey, look, there's this old fence line, or here's this old building, or you can see like where the grass lines were different. It's like you don't learn that in school necessarily. So having that outside experience, and even in the office of different companies do things different ways. And you take a combination, and even different guys do things different ways. That's the craziest part is I'd ask three different guys for help on the same thing, and I'd get three different answers. All got me to the same result, but three different ways of doing it. And so you take that and you meld it into your own thing along with what you learned at school.
Oh, exactly. And sometimes I'll get myself in trouble when during some of my presentations, and I relate the surveying profession to the medical profession. And to your point, um, at this stage, I wouldn't want a surgeon that learned everything by experience. That they need that formal education, but even going through all of that, then going into practice, depending on the hospital, depending on the tools, depending on everything, it's all going to be different.
Yeah.
So and the reason I make that simile is that's truly what a professional surveyor is going through. Is you can learn, like you said, whatever you learn, but even within the state that you're practicing in, uh, surveying in your neighborhood in southeastern Indiana is a whole lot different than downtown Indianapolis.
Oh, yeah. And I've done both.
Yes, and
They're
so
very strange. And then going across the river to Kentucky and surveying down there is a thousand times different. Then you hop across over to Ohio, and depending on where you go,
which
good luck.
which one of those? What is it? Is it seven different systems I think that are in Ohio or something like that?
It's
It's
something ridiculous. It was the test state, is what I call it.
it was the test state exactly. I've heard that from several. So I guess part of it, what we're trying to get to into this conversation is, part of the purpose of bringing somebody like you onto NSPS. We are the voice of the surveyor for all surveyors in the U.S. Um, but it just seems like many people think, well, it's old, it's antiquated. We've done everything we possibly can, especially this last year and a half with Elaine Ball and trying to market and try to modernize and various things. Um, but like you and I have joked about, we're trying to walk the talk that, what your perspective brings to the organization. And, that's part of what I wanted to introduce you to our listeners, to anybody that reads this in the bulletin and sees what more and more things that are going on, where you're going to be uh, um, the listener, the reader is going to be, I think, blown away by all of the things that we're going to be doing aimed at the younger generation in conjunction with the Young Surveyors Network. So I guess from your perspective, can you share what you think about what NSPS represents now and where we need to go, where we need to evolve to, and what our focus needs to be, really to be looking for that future generation and to make sure that surveying stays relevant going forward.
I think right now there's unfortunately a stigmatism of what NSPS is, and even the state societies, because they don't see what happens behind the scenes, what the organization is fighting for, and what we do. especially like with the day on the hill, talking to people, explaining it, trying to get information out there, plus the day to day of pulling together the information so that way we can get it all in one place to make everyone's life easier of okay, what's the requirement to get licensed in this state? What about that state? What are the laws? How do these relate? Are these even similar in regards to their state laws? Um, and I think NSPS is starting to get that stuff together and lead that charge of, okay, something does need to change. People are not seeing the purpose of the organization anymore. That needs to change because there is a really big and important mission for us of yes, it says National Society of Professional Surveyors. It's not just for the professionals anymore.
Exactly.
We know that without the guys in the field, without the CAD techs, without the teachers teaching the next generation, we're going nowhere. And if nobody knows what we do, they're going to try and get rid of laws that protect our profession and the public. Because if you're getting licensed guys or you're letting Billy Bob Joe go survey and sign and stamp stuff that ends up being completely wrong, you're harming the public, whether they realize it or not. And so having the organizations that have the ability to talk to those people, to protect the laws, to offer classes or videos or explanations of what a surveyor does, how to stay safe in the office, in the field, how to expand your skills, how to network. I mean, the number of people I've met from the one time I was out at the uh, surveyors on the hill, the meeting in the spring, the 1 year, and then at all of the state conferences, the number of people I've met and been able to network with is exponential. And that's helped me grow my network and my ability to learn and understand where, hey, this guy has this issue in his area. I also have this issue. Why don't we work together and figure it out, fix it? Who do we need to talk to? How can we go about doing this? How can we go about changing it? And one thing that my mom has done a phenomenal job about is, and I look up to her so much in regards of I want to do great things for our profession like she has, is getting the information out there, but also realizing there's not enough schools offering the programs. There's not enough people out there teaching the programs to get enough surveyors. There's too many retiring, not enough getting licensed. Being licensed is not the end all be all, but we do need those licensed individuals to keep everybody on track, safe, and do the things that need to get done. And so having somewhere that, hey, you need all of these classes, you want to get this degree, these places offer it in person, they offer it online, you can do a combination. Hey, these two schools work together
Right. Right.
to get you your final degree. And it's like having one place that has all the information and can link out to that further information, or you're looking for somebody to buy your company from you because you're ready to retire. You're not going to post that on Facebook Marketplace. Hey, I'm selling my surveying business. You want to come buy it? No, have somewhere that you can say, hey, here's where I'm located. Here's the type of work I do. I'm looking for somebody to take over my company, my records, whatever. And it continues a lineage of professionalism, of keeping the public safe and keeping the profession alive.
Yep, exactly. Well, and part of it, and that's one reason that, like I said, even in this very, very short time, we've been working together on a few things, even getting to know each other, is for NSPS to understand where that younger generation is getting their information. One thing that's been very, very enlightening in working with Elaine Ball and her team, and she's done a wonderful job getting us exposed, getting us out there. It's something she shared with us the other day, which it kind of floored me that for me, as a Gen X, I guess, head stuck in the sand, whatever, thinking that I'm being progressive and I understand it and what have you. The main social media channels that NSPS blasts on are LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, a little bit of I call it Twitter X. We haven't really delved into TikTok simply because it's so much more video driven and various things. But then there's also our website. It is pushing it out on emails. And then also I look around in Reddit that we need to start putting some stuff out there as well. But the interesting thing was my thought process was I figured most of the people that are getting our information about NSPS are going through LinkedIn. And then
Probably not.
And then for Elaine to share with us, one of our seminars we had not that long ago, which I think we had 200 or 300, I have like 250 to 300 registrants, less than half were on LinkedIn, which is surprising to me. So not to discount Facebook as nothing but Gen X grandmas and what have you. There is a place for that. There's a place for Instagram. We need to not discount TikTok and some other avenues to go about. And like I gotta admit, even just in the short time we've been talking and now been working together, it's become that much more obvious. It's things that I thought were true that you're bringing to light, and being able to reach out to understand and to help us address that much more. This is Tim Birch, NSPS Executive Director, and your host for the Surveyor Says podcast. Thanks for taking the time to listen to our insights into the surveying profession. Each week, we bring you fascinating guests in the surveying profession. We are pleased to announce a new offering titled Between the Stakes, a podcast created by the NSPS Young Surveyors Network. The first 3 episodes introduce your hosts, Stacy Pollock, Nolan Mark, and Stuart Ward, all licensed professional surveyors who each bring a unique perspective to the profession. After you get to know your hosts, they will sit down for a conversation about the surveying profession and their views on where the road lies ahead for our practitioners. Subscribe to the Between the Stakes podcast and Surveyor Says on most of your favorite streaming platforms, as well as our podcast host, Podbean. For more information about all NSPS media channels, please visit our website, nsps.us.com. And now back to the conversation. One thing I do want to talk about, besides just even those channels, is really also becomes the messaging. It becomes the I know there's a push. I always promise people not to go political, but I know there's a push to minimize the DEI components of things within the country. You know what, though? If somebody wants to work as a surveyor, it doesn't matter what their gender is, what their race is. And even if they have some sort of disability, there's probably something they can do at a computer, what have you. Anyway, what I like about what you're bringing to the table is your youth. And the fact is that you've been involved in various functions. One of which I think is becoming a great institution, is the Women's Survey Summit, and the fact that that is growing exponentially, which is fantastic. that there is an opportunity for like-minded surveyors to get together. And for those that want to discount that and say, well, why don't we have a men's survey summit? And I went, well,
You do.
you've had that for generations. Knock it off. Don't worry about it. The fact that the ladies are getting together, are organizing, and talk about what's important to them within the profession is key. Is key. So, can you tell us a little bit about what your experience has been within the summits, and uh, where do you see that growing? Is that where's that going to?
Yeah, so the Future Surveyors Foundation is the overhead organization of that puts on the Women's Surveyor Summit. So they also put on other minority, I guess, in the surveying world, uh, programs as well. So that way you see who looks like you. And because I will be completely honest, the first conference I ever went to was ISPLS. I went with my mom and I saw five, maybe six other women there. And I asked my mom straight up, like, where are all the women? I thought there'd be more. She's like, there's a ton. Mom, there's six. So that
Yes.
just kind of boggled my mind of, no, that's a lot versus my perspective of there should be more. Uh, and so I forget how I found it, uh, but I saw information on the Women's Surveyor Summit when it was up in Stillwater, Minnesota.
Right. Right.
And so that was the first one. I convinced my mom, hey, let's go. She's like, I don't know what you're getting me into, but okay. So we drove to Minnesota
Thelma
because
Louise.
we were insane. We decided to drive. Um, but we got up there, and I think at that summit there were 150 of us, and you had still in college, you had freshly graduated, freshly licensed, licensed for 20 plus years, retired, working for the state, working for the entire national government, private, sole proprietors. You had everyone. And getting to talk to women who started very bottom to now running their own company was amazing. And so we decided, all right, where's the next one? When's the next one? We're going. I think that one was Pittsburgh. So we again hopped in the car and drove to Pittsburgh. And that one grew by about 50. So I think there were about 200 of us at that one. And in addition to just in the States, you had women from Alaska, you had women from Puerto Rico flying up to be a part of it.
Yep.
I forget how many of the women from Puerto Rico there were. There were quite a few. And it was just like the way they survey down there is very different than how we survey in some regards because of the terrain and just the technology and whatever else and their thought processes. And so it was really cool to get to talk to them and learn. And then this past year was in Las Vegas. Again, super cool. Did not drive to this one. We flew. Thank goodness.
Yeah. Thank goodness.
But we each time we go, it's you're learning new things of different projects that have been done over the years that women have worked on. Or they did a panel of the newest female surveyor to get licensed in Nevada to one of the first to get licensed. And it was really cool to hear those differences of where it started, where it is now, and the in-betweens. But we're learning different ways of soft skills even. We had one class where it was like, here's how to have a conversation and show you're paying attention and actually pay attention. Which sounds silly, but sometimes people are like, having a conversation and they walk away and I have no idea what they were talking about. Not a clue. And so I'm really excited that the next one this fall is San Diego. I'm going out to it. I'm super excited because the some of the classes that they're going to offer, I can't even remember all of them, but they they've always been fantastic, so I can't imagine anything different this year. And I've met so many girls and women that I would say are my friends now, and we may only see each other and talk once a year, but I know if I reached out to them today, they'd be like, "Hey, what's up? What do you need?"
Yep.
And be right there. And it's like, that's fantastic. We
That is
had last
excellent.
year, PETA came from Australia.
Australia, yeah, Peter Cox. Yeah, she's,
Yep.
yep.
She came to Las Vegas for the conference. And so it's like you're now getting women from all over the world coming to this and seeing rather than a room full of men with six women, you're seeing a room full of women in the same industry and see that you're not the only one in your company. You've got that force behind you.
Yes, and there again, I think you said it a little bit ago, and it's so true that one reason it's been easy for men is because we've always been surrounded by our contemporaries, look like us. They walk, they talk the same, dress the same way, whatever, blah blah blah. Why can't there be the same situation for the ladies? I mean, that's it's somebody that you can relate to uh, in every facet of your life, and not just based upon your profession.
Yeah.
It's more than that. It's more than just women who survey. It's surveyors who are women and being able to relate to each other. So I think it's awesome that
It's
you have been involved, from an early standpoint. Because I want to say Minnesota was like their second one, I believe.
no, Minnesota
No,
was, oh, I think they started in
they
2019.
they started in Texas.
Then they went to Virginia. Then I think they had an online one because of COVID.
Ah, there you go.
And I think there was one more before Minnesota. I think Minnesota was like four. I don't want to get that wrong.
That's all
I don't
right.
want Anna to get mad at me that I got it
No,
wrong.
no, no. Well, the fact of the matter is, you've been to three of them prior,
Yes.
and you're now becoming, or I mean, you are a regular, like you said. You've got people you see once a year, but it's like like going back to school and
Yeah.
seeing people, and it's old friends, and that's the way it should be. It should be like a state conference. It should be your contemporaries that you're used to working with, to talking with, and can relate to. So no, that's excellent, and I'm so happy that's something that you've been involved in. That everyone is embracing that idea, um, and as a profession, we need to embrace it even more, and encourage that many more people. What I find interesting is that, and granted, it's taken several years to build up to the numbers you have now, but the
Yeah.
fact is, you've got a gathering of surveyors from nationwide, and now, like you said, Puerto Rico, Australia, and the such, um, that are coming together, um, for NSPS right here, right now, to try to start national conference, even for everyone. Um, there would be pushback. There would be resistance to go and do that, which is a shame. That maybe someday we're able to do that once again on a larger scale, and learn things more on a larger scale. But the fact of the matter is, the ladies have put it together. They've stuck with it. They've got good support, and it just needs to continue to be promoted and encouraged. So,
Yeah. I
um,
think Anna had said that it grows by about 50 women every single year, which is insane.
yes. Well, and even more importantly, we need to make sure that the companies, the employers of especially the younger women, um, those companies need to support them to get them
Yes.
there, afford them the time to do it, help them out with their expenses. It's only going to increase their knowledge of the profession uh, for the benefit of the company. And that goes without saying for all of YSN as well. It
Yeah.
was amazing to me last fall when we were having our fall business meeting. We had the Young Surveyors Americas conference there in Minneapolis. And there's 70 people in the room, and when I asked how many were there on their own dime on their own time, about half of the room raised their hands, and that's a shame. That is a shame that it uh, it it is a benefit for the employer to be able to send somebody to network, to gain more knowledge, and just become a better surveyor. Period.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, I want to be a little, respective of your time as well, but I wanted to get to a couple quick things about, wanted to just kind of unveil some of the things that you and I've been talking about that hopefully turns um, the view of NSPS towards not the old stodgy, this is the way we've always done it, so we're going to continue this way. This is being progressive. This is being forward thinking. Um, one of the things that we're excited about having you on board with is to really help us with the social media and make sure that we're identifying the right target audience, which needs to be younger, because let's face it, the back 2/3 of the profession, and I'm just going to arbitrarily say 50 and older, we're not going anywhere. We're going to continue to do this, and it's going to be harder for us to engage the younger generation to, simply because of the age difference and the viewpoints. So changing that viewpoint and that messaging, um, from your perspective, where can we go as far as the messaging, uh, attracting, retaining, and promoting the profession? What just at a first glance, so how are we doing, and what can we change quickly?
I think definitely getting better. And I think one thing that I've noticed over, yes, my short years, but also talking to others is you don't know what a surveyor is unless you're related to one or you had a survey done. And even if you had a survey done, half the time you don't even know what the heck happened, unfortunately. But I think getting that visibility out there of every day is different, every job is different. Yes, there may be some similarities, but you could be doing a topo in an open field one day, you could be laying out a house the next you could be looking for this old stone that the original surveyor set back in 1816 to mark this property corner.
Yep.
And or you could be inside one day creating calcs and creating a drawing. I like to call it, I play connect the dots. When I'm doing a topo or doing a boundary, it's you're playing connect the dots. Um, which is the oversimplified way of putting it. But it gets kids like, oh, you play a kids game on a computer? In essence, sort of. But I make
Yep.
pretty drawings from connect the dots of what the land looks like. Or I'm out in the field playing with a drone. Not necessarily playing with it, but I get to use it. And then I get to
Right.
use this cool technology to process stuff. And so I think advertising the fun aspects and the technology, yes, there are rough days. It's 100 degrees, you're out in the middle of a field and you want to just give up and quit because you're exhausted and hungry. Yes, you're going to have those days. But you're also going to have the days where, look, I found this really cool stone. And then you go show everybody because that's what we do. I can't tell you the number of times that my parents have done that or I've done that. But sharing the capabilities of what we do why we do it. And then, as horrible and weird as it might sound, but the pay and the job security, that's huge.
Exactly.
For millennials and younger, that's huge because there's so much up in the air. We want to have a good paying job to be able to have a house, support our families, do whatever, but we also don't want to be in fear of losing our job. And I've always been told surveyors work till they die. Maybe not literally, but they work
Mm,
fairly long in
they
their
do.
careers and have long, really good careers. And so we need somebody to learn from them and get their knowledge to pass down and continue it on. And you're always going to need a surveyor. How else are houses going to get built? How else are you going to lay out the roads? You need a surveyor, licensed or not, you're going to need them to get the work done.
Oh, exactly. Exactly. Well, this is going to be an ongoing conversation, and you, you will be back on here with me. And spoiler alert: there's either going to be a separate series, or she's going to sit in this chair for me occasionally and interview some people, which I think would is going to be a radical and nice departure from hearing me drone on from time to time. But um, so we will continue this, but so I do have to finish with the last question I always ask every guest, um, even now employees. How does the future of surveying look to you?
Exciting, honestly, with the changes in technology that and the capabilities of things we can do now and some of the ideas people have for things they want to build even and do. The possibilities are endless. Plus, you're going to have those history nerds all the way until the end of time getting excited about finding the old monuments. Or, I mean, it's it's going to be fun because I think people are going to start making different caps and different monument types,
Yep.
and it's going to be an Easter egg hunt. And we're like little kids. We're going to be excited. We're going to be posting more of them. And so I think no matter what happens, I think it's going to be exciting and it's going to be really, really cool to see what we come up with.
Exactly. Exactly. Well, Kara, I'll let you go. Like I said, you've got other priorities to take care of as well, and I do appreciate taking the time out to sit and have a nice little chat with me on the record for some things, and we will be talking about more. One thing I do want to encourage people to be on the look for is a lot more interaction on our social media channels. A lot more. Ask us questions. Ask NSPS about various things. Throw us some stuff. We're going to introduce a few more programs out there of, Ask the Surveyor and a few other things.
Send
And
direct messages.
yes, yes, exactly. That we want to be your source, whether you want to be in surveying or just have a question about surveying. We want to be that one stop shop for all of that. So I'm looking to much I won't say brighter days ahead, but you know, greater days ahead. Now there's going to be a lot of great stuff happening. All right. Well, like I said, I'll let you get back at it. I appreciate your time. That'll wrap it up for this episode of Surveyor Says. Wherever you listen, please hit that subscribe button. And a reminder, also where you listen to the Surveyor Says, look for Between the Stakes, the new podcast from the NSPS Young Surveyors Network. Stuart Ward, Stacy Pollock, and Nolan Mark talking about everything and everything. And then, you know what? I'm really enjoying what little hot takes they're doing at the end of their conversations, just about stuff going on in the surveying world. So, and I think we're going, between you and I, Cara, we're going to end up being involved with them a little bit more on that as well. So, like I said, this is we're turning a big page here at NSPS, and I'm so glad you're along for the ride there, Cara. All right. Well, like I said, wherever you listen, hit that subscribe button and we'll talk to you soon. Thank you. You've been listening to Surveyor Says, the NSPS podcast, brought to you by the National Society of Professional Surveyors. If you have any questions about today's episode or any other topic, please email us at info@nsps.us.com, as we are here to help. Subscribe to the podcast on most of your favorite streaming platforms, as well as our podcast host, Podbean. For more information about the podcast and NSPS, please visit our website, nsps.us.com. And remember, it's a great day to be a surveyor.